Welcome to the AirCon Vault, recordings of the live streams from AirWiggles Audio Conference. These are made free thanks to our sponsors, A Sound Effect, Game Audio Learning, Kilohertz, Audio Kinetic, Soundcuts, Sugi, Boom Library, Sound Warriors, and AirWiggles, the online home for audio people.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining the talk. Basically in this talk we're going to be just doing a little chat about like how working as a team has kind of benefited us and how it's like progressed our sound design skills and careers. Also how we just kind of grew with group learning in general. What does it involve? Why is it beneficial? And how it's helped us in our work and also in the AirWiggles Sound Design Showdown. So, Whomst are we? So I'm Becky. Came into the industry back in 2019. So have done a mix of freelance and work full-time at a company. Worked with some incredible teams on games like Grapple Dog, Soccer Story with the great iGame Audio team. And also most recently working on Grapple Dog 2 and then also a game called Must Kick Wizards that us three are actually working on together.
Hi all, I'm Luke and I'm the sound designer at Altix Technologies and I'm working on the licensed video game for the Ultimate Frisbee Association. I always have to try and make sure I get that right. And I've also worked on Operation Living Room, which is on Snapchat, and a few other little small indie games, and they're currently working with these two as well on Must Kick Wizards and a few sound libraries on the side.
Hello everyone, I'm Kai. I'm a sound designer and I've started in the industry in 2019. I did that as a freelancer for a couple of years and I worked on games like Candria and the award-winning VR game Squingle. These days I work at Still Alive Studios, been there for almost 2 years, and I'm working on a bunch of unannounced projects. So how did this start, this whole thing? So we all met in 2019. I met Luke at uni, and then we met Becky at a Game Audio London meetup. We quickly became friends, started playing games together. And because we're quite early in our careers, we started giving each other feedback on redesigns and on our show reels, because we were starting off making those at the time. And it was really, really handy just getting an extra ear on everything. So yeah, that was immensely helpful. And then from there, we started doing like group redesign challenges back in 2020 during Noisevember. We teamed up on like a bunch of prompts where we do like the same prompt, the same clip with the same sound sources, and started like sharing those on social media and working together. And like that was immensely fun. So then for like the last 4 years, we've been just doing loads of redesign challenges together. And then came the AirWiggles Sound Design Showdown, which we participated in last year. And we worked so well together during that, we decided to start an audio outsourcing company called Noodle Noise.
Cool. So yeah, just giving like a little overview about why it's super helpful to work to kind of learn stuff in a team like this. Obviously, like luckily the game audio community is super great. Everyone's like really, really happy to kind of share knowledge around. But sometimes it is quite hard as things like courses are often pretty expensive. And also just trying to learn a lot of topics on your own. It can be quite long and slow and just overwhelming when you kind of want to learn so much. Also, things like getting a mentor can sometimes be difficult. There are some programs like I know of Limit Break where you can like get paired with a mentor in the industry. But apart from that, and what we decided to do was just kind of become each other's mentor. And yeah, through that, you gain a lot of like new perspectives, different approaches, like gaps in knowledge, and everyone has different strengths. So when you kind of bring that together and teach each other all of that stuff, it just really speeds up the process. So the main thing that we do, and you might see on like social media and stuff, is we do these sound design challenges. So basically we find a clip. There are some places there that we usually go to grab our clips. ArtStation is a really, really good one for like short VFX and animation clips. And yeah, we grab a clip from there. We mute the sound. I personally don't, if it's like a gameplay clip, like don't listen to the original sound. so that I'm not kind of influenced when I kind of come up with my own unique ideas. And then, yeah, together we basically just have a time frame, setting like rough deadlines. These kind of, they obviously get shifted depending on workloads and like what everyone's kind of doing at the time. But depending on the length of the clip, it could vary from a week or to a month. And it just means that it's a nice like chill environment. It means like when we get the time and are in the right mindset to do that kind of experimental sound design stuff, we can do some work on it without having to take time away from our day-to-day commercial work. And yeah, like with the challenges, we don't want them to like feel like a chore. It's something that we want to do to like have fun and experiment with new techniques and such. So kind of setting a rough deadline but quite flexible is nice. And then, yeah, we pick one of two approaches. So the first approach is that any sounds can be used. So you can use any like library source recordings, personal recordings, and then process them as you wish. But the second approach is actually when you can try limiting the sounds that you can all use. So this is when we'll each kind of contribute one or two sounds that we've recorded ourselves. And we'll show some examples of this in a few slides. And yeah, we can then we share those sounds and we can then use those sounds as we wish. So we can kind of go wacky on processing so that we're still like able to get some creative freedom in there, but it's really good for like pushing processing skills, and it brings a more creative element because like you are restricted more with the sounds, but then like it kind of pushes you to think outside the box and try and get some wacky sounds from something you may not have initially chosen in the first place.
So why we do them? There's like so many benefits to doing it. I mean, the first obvious one is the fact that you want to improve your sound design skills. And I think doing it as a group is really, really beneficial because it creates an environment where you make sure that you actually do get it done, but there's like no pressure to really like share it anywhere else. You can kind of keep it within the group. If you're not happy with the results, it kind of doesn't matter what the outcome is, because either way you're going to learn something new. And yeah, it's really, really handy to do together because you can learn a lot from it. And one thing that was mentioned in the previous slide is the fact that you can use sound sources that you hadn't considered using. For instance, like with the one with the limited sound effects type of sound challenge, we usually grab the clip first and then we'll go about the house and try and find stuff that we can record that we think would be useful, or just throw people off and use a sound effect that you really don't think you should use for something. And as a result, it means it gets you using a lot of things you'd never really think of, because like sometimes you never actually have a good sound for the thing that you're sound designing. So it gets you thinking outside the box of how to like deliver a good sound using a very unconventional sound source, which is immensely useful. And then of course with that, recording your own material, that's really, really useful to be able to do that. It gets you making your own personal library as a result of doing it. And then it gets you to start approaching props with like a meaning behind it, because after you've grabbed the clip, then you can find something around the house and you can look at it and think, okay, how could that be used for this source? And it gets you kind of thinking about the sound design before you actually put it inside your DAW, which is immensely useful. And then it also gets you organizing your clips and using actual naming conventions, because these sounds are going to be used by other people in the sound challenge. So then you can start using stuff like UCS naming conventions instead of it just sitting on your computer for 5 years called Zoom 0056. And then you don't know what it is afterwards, which is, yeah, I've done that quite a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, super common. And yeah, with experimenting with different plugins as well. We do sound design challenges based around different plugins, so we can do complete deep dives into how they work, because sometimes you never know what plugins you already have. I mean, like we've all bought plugins, I think, on Black Friday with the intention of using it, and then it actually just kind of sits there. This actually gets you using the stuff that you have and utilizing what you own already. And then it gets you just thinking about the things that the plugins that you have that you didn't know that you actually could do that with them. And that's just an immensely useful skill. And I'll talk about that a bit later as well. Learning new approaches, because you end up using clips that maybe you hadn't considered you'd do sound for before. Maybe it's something you want to learn. Maybe it has a little twist. Then you end up learning a new skill. And the fact that you're also doing it with 2 other people means you also learn the skills that the other 2 people have learned as well, because we share what we did with each other afterwards. So you end up learning a lot. And improves quickfire design and editing. So this is a skill that will carry over to like all of your work, being able to work really, really fast and get like quick iterations into a game quickly. Because when you're working on games, you don't often have like a very large time frame, or other times as well, you just want to get an asset into the game to see how it works inside the game, because we've all been there where you're working on a sound effect in your DAW and it sounds amazing in the DAW, and then you put it in the game and it doesn't fit, and then you have to go back and edit. It's just really, really good to have a skill of just like quickly being able to edit things and throw them in to see how they work. And then also the accountability aspect as well is as the fact that you're doing it as a group, that means that you're all holding each other accountable to actually get redesigns done, which is really good, because sometimes you end up wanting to redesign a clip and then it just sits there on your computer for months and you haven't touched it or whatever. The fact that we have like a set deadline, regardless of what the deadline is, could be a week, could be a month, it means that you actually end up doing it. And we check in on each other like during the whole process as well, and sometimes jump on calls and do the group redesign like together, which is immensely useful for then actually having finished sound design work. And then at the end of it, yeah, we promote each other's work, which we'll get into later.
Cool. Yeah. So here's an example of, I think, actually one of the first challenges that we did back in November in 2020. So we each went around and recorded stuff, and yeah, redesigned a clip to a kind of big rocket launcher weapon.
So then, also to go with that as well, we have a bunch of other redesigns that we've done over the last year or so. And we did quite a few of these just before doing the sound design showdown as well. So it was good practice for us, especially when we didn't feel too confident in doing specific things, I guess. So it was good practice and a good point of learning. One of them's gone, but that's okay.
No, it doesn't like that one. But yeah, like with that that first monolith clip, you know, at the time I really wanted to practice the kind of shimmering and magical layers. I wasn't really sure how to like approach that, so we picked that clip to try and yeah, just learn some new techniques and then kind of share some info on how we each approached it. And yeah, I mean, from that, I now feel a bit more confident doing that in the future. So it's super useful.
So sharing this stuff on social media, there's an example of like one of our posts look like on the right there. So basically we upload like the tweet or the post on Instagram at exactly the same time, so we can all get like the same level of exposure. We mention what we did and we at people that worked on it in like the main tweet. And then we retweet everything at the same time. We'll create a thread so that everyone's version is accessible. And then if you really like your work and you want to show off a bit more, then recording a short breakdown video showcasing everything that you did is immensely useful as well. And it's really good for multiple reasons. One, gets you more exposure. Two, you get to pay it forward and give more to the audio community so more people can learn the different tips. And also then if you're designing something later down the line, you're like, oh, how did I design that one sound back then? Thankfully, you already have like a video on social media that you can immediately circle back to and remember what you actually did a lot faster. So yeah, we share on Twitter mainly, and we also share on Instagram. And then we make sure to use the hashtags game audio and sound design, and then like what other hashtags you can think of that you think are relevant. Yeah.
LinkedIn's also a good one.
True, LinkedIn is great for
the demise of Twitter. I think a lot of people like game devs left, and it seems there's a like nice community on LinkedIn of game audio people, so it's a good place to share.
And with that, I just wanted to say, like, sometimes sharing to multiple platforms is really handy, because some people might not see it on one platform, but they'll see it on another one. So you're gonna get everyone from every angle pretty much. So definitely share them on everywhere you can.
cover all bases. So yeah, in terms of how it's paid off us doing these challenges, workflow is a big one. I think we've all kind of been able to create a like really smooth workflow when doing redesigns, and this can just be carried over like really easily into commercial projects. I think being able to like grab a gameplay clip, find and record source, experiment, and kind of get a concept like written up really quickly has paid off a lot. And also, you just discover a lot of new ideas and approaches. So for us, like we've come across a lot of new Reaper scripts that each of us find useful, and like specific plugins, like Kai said, and just like little sound design tricks and tips of like stretching files or like modulating certain parameters and things like that has definitely come in handy in our commercial work. And also, it's paid off because we won the Sound Design Showdown, not to boast. But basically, like all of it combined, like really helped when like taking part in that. Because we'd already done the challenges, like the redesign challenges, we knew we were like really in tune with how each of us worked, and knew what our individual strengths were. And I think we were already so used to working as a team that it came quite naturally when it came to doing those prompts each week. So talking about the Showdown, we wanted to kind of use a section of this talk, do a bit of a deep dive into how we approached each week. And also just because the Showdown was a really great example of like the challenges that you can do with other people to just practice sound design. So before the Showdown, as we'd said, we basically had only designed sounds to clips. But obviously for the Showdown, you could only submit audio files. So it definitely pushed us to think a lot more about like timing and pacing to tell the story that we wanted to tell, which had obviously previously been determined by like the animations in the clips we chose. I think it developed a lot of like making sure we made like clear and crisp sound design to make sure like the story was conveyed right. And so as I mentioned, like the challenges helped a lot. But I think the main thing that kind of carried over from that was the communication. So I think like teaming up with other sound designers and doing things like challenges and kind of feedback loops, it just really helps build good communication skills, and that can really be brought over like into any work that you do, and that's like really valuable. And like for the Showdown, I mean, we'll talk more about kind of how we kind of broke down the roles and stuff, but for the most part, we each worked on kind of separate sounds and then pieced them together at the end. So being able to like communicate what we were each doing and like the progress on each was really useful to kind of be able to pull together like a concept and a prototype like super early on. And that was all thanks to the redesign challenges that we'd done.
So just to give like an idea of like what our process was when we were doing the Sound Design Showdown, jumped in a call after the streams of the prompts being given out to each teams. I think the first 5 to 10 minutes was us running around like headless chickens, just because some of the prompts were a bit harder than others. But we then sat down and we just started brainstorming a whole bunch of different things. And we just started to make either visual storyboards or written storyboards to give an idea of what we do in our allocated 10 seconds, 15 or 30 seconds. And from there, then we would divide all of our assets. So, for instance, I would go off and do some of the ambiences, and Becky might go off and do some creatures, and then Kai might go off and do some of the like attack sounds or what, as an example. Once we were happy with that, we would then go off and build everything together. And we would then have a kind of like a block to go off of. And this is about maybe, I'd say about like 2 days in or something like that.
Yeah.
On average, I think.
And by the second day, we knew if we liked it or not, and then we'd keep moving forward with it. As in some cases, we'll go into later, we did change some of our ideas. But if we were really happy with the idea we were going with, we'd then start redefining it, adding, we'd start mixing properly. We then go off and start sharing each other's projects and stuff, which made everything a lot easier when we were all working in the same DAW. But also that had some of its challenges as well, which with some of us not having the same plugins or same audio assets sometimes. So we have to make sure those are embedded properly. But by day 6, we would then be doing our final pass on mixing and mastering. We'd jump in a Discord call and just go over everything. And yeah, we just sit there for ages. I think pretty much the Saturdays were just us sitting in a call for half the day or maybe even most of the day, just going, okay, we need to make sure this sounds right. Or and then when it came to Sunday morning and we sent off everything, we definitely had a sign of relief where we could relax for a little bit at least until we moved on to the next round, and then this process happened all over again.
So here is kind of like a role breakdown of every single round that we had. On the first round, you can see the 8-bit versus AAA Mega Beast. We all kind of worked on the same assets and refined them. We got a storyboard together very, very, very quickly with that round, and it was quite easy to just work together and do everything at the same time. With round 2 and round 3 and round 4 is when we started to split into more defined roles based on availability and our skill sets, and we tried to match everything up correctly so we could like get the best result. We're all very good at these sounds, but like we just wanted to make sure they were defined roles so that we could work quite streamlined, and that was immensely effective. And yeah, as a result, I think with fast iteration times and being able to storyboard quite well, yeah, it turned out really, really good. And I'm really glad we split it the way we did. It worked out really good. So round 2. Here is the sound from round 2. There's the prompt there. Menacing creature gets polymorphed into a tiny harmless one. Let's hear that clip.
Cuteness ray. Fiery.
So our first idea for round 2 was not that. Our original idea was a bunch of like Dungeons and Dragons characters get together to fight a massive beast, and then the wizard polymorphs it. And as much as that's a really good idea, it was really, really tough for us to deliver that because there was a lot of assets, a lot of moving parts, and it became quite tricky quite quickly. And I guess the good thing about the fact that we're both, all three of us are like really, really good at creating assets super fast is that we realized that about 2 days in. So it was like enough time for us to change direction. So that was really good. And then Luke managed to come up with an entirely new idea while on holiday in Portugal that was actually much better. So you came up with that in like a dream, and it turned out to be like immensely useful. So the new idea was what you just heard. And it kind of utilized our skill sets a lot more because it was like sci-fi and creatures, which is something that we kind of all excel at quite a lot. And it was much less moving parts, and it was much more defined as a story. And as a result, it meant that we could deliver better results. And it kind of shows, and it's kind of a trend amongst like the sound design challenges that we do and like the group learnings that we do, that any contribution, big or small, can end up being immensely vital. And yeah, just by working together really well, we managed to communicate that super well, and that worked out immensely good. And then the other thing that really benefited there from doing lots of sound design challenges and the way that we do them is when we realized in the middle of the sound design showdown round that it wasn't working and we needed this new idea and we wanted to deliver it, because we'd done sound design challenges based around specific plugins and being able to like build up the skills of competence with just jumping into a plugin and then having the confidence to deliver something good. It meant that I actually managed to delve into Melda's Morph plugin during the round and had never touched it prior to that. And as a result, managed to actually yield some really, really good results for some creature sounds. So being able to just dive in and have the confidence to deliver something just massively paid off for that round. It was really good.
And I think every week. We saw there was maybe 1 or 2 musical prompts in every section of the sound design showdown, and we were dreading getting any kind of musical prompt, and we thought we escaped it until round 3 came around, and we had a musical performance of an organic alien flesh bagpipe. So yeah, this was pretty much us for the entirety of the week, just crying with the idea of making this horrid flesh bagpipe. So we were stressing for the entire week, not knowing how we were gonna actually make it, and then came to, and somehow we failed the task successfully. I think we were all very hyper focused on doing like a musical prompt that we took at one point. We all took a step back and realized it is a section of the prompt, but it's not something that we need to do for the full 15 seconds that we have. So we built a story around this like flesh bagpipe, and I think the story we added to it enhanced that. But I think sometimes if you're doing that by yourself, maybe I don't know how I would have approached it originally. And I think when we sat down and then actually brainstormed everything, it just came together so fluidly. And I think that was one big aspect of us doing well, especially on this prompt, where straight away we were all dreading it. So
yeah, cool. So for round 4, which was the final, we originally started, because this was a slightly longer one, so we had 30 seconds to fill in this one. So I think we had about like a week and a half, and yeah, we started off by concepting a whale migration idea, because the prompt was around the world. Whales travel very far each year, so we thought maybe we could try doing that as an idea to fill out the 30 seconds. And yeah, we created a full block out, but we were finding it super tricky to kind of showcase through just sound that the whale was actually like really traveling far around the world, because it was like mainly like underwater ambiences and stuff like that. So it didn't really have that like definition that we wanted, from like going from section to section. But yeah, we'll play it now, because we did like the full block out, but we did end up switching to another idea, which Luke will talk about in a sec.
Where are we?
So, as Becky said, we built that concept. I think we did that in the first 3 days, and it was just really hard. As I said, it's really hard to convey that this whale is traveling around the world. I think everything in there was really good, and I think that was something we were a bit bummed about when we started, because we were like, oh, put so much effort into this, and it was not exactly working, or like working to what the prompt was. But we all sat in a call again and brainstormed another idea. And I can't remember who came up with the idea, but for this prompt, we did a scientist making a portal gun, and then the gun malfunctions and sends this person all around all different kinds of locations around the world. And I think first thing we wanted to do was we wanted to reuse that water, with the water ambiences and the whale sounds and stuff like that. And I think it's a big thing to remember when designing sounds is you might design something that won't fit what you're doing at this moment in time, but don't delete it. Keep it, and you can use it in your libraries, your personal libraries, or you can use it for another asset down the line in another game or another part of your reel or a sound challenge. And that was something we were wanting to keep, was all of that really cool work. So I'm going to just play the clip from the final concept. Yeah, and also to add, I think the transitions from the whales were also then used for the portal, like a layer for the portal gun as well. So there was a lot from that first blockhouse that was actually reused for the second concept.
So we faced like quite a few challenges during this whole thing because I mean it was a month long, and sometimes like availability wasn't there because we had holidays, we have lives. We also all work in sound design full time as jobs, so we also it's kind of hard sometimes to be able to commit to doing sound design after work. We all have like families and people to see and time to rest because that's immensely important. Because as a friend of mine once said, if you don't prioritize resting time, your body will do it for you, and it'll probably be a less convenient time. So yeah, you need to make sure that you actually have enough time to rest. Sickness comes up as well because it was a long challenge. Not liking our ideas, but thanks to fast asset turnaround and being able to work together very well, we managed to work through that. And then like prior burnout, but like one thing that at least really helped during the whole thing is the fact that working together as a team and being able to like have this much fun as a team worked as like really good motivation for us. And of course, all of these setbacks are acceptable. Like nothing should ever stop you from like prioritizing your physical and mental well-being. This doesn't just apply to like a sound design showdown or like redesign challenges or group learning. It just also applies to like your job as well, like regardless of what it is, and working in audio as well, and like working in creative industries. There's a lot of passion driving it. So it's immensely important that you actually take the time to rest and look after yourself. There'll always be time to do sound stuff, but make sure that you're looking after yourself first.
And I think with the sound design showdown, it was a fun, and it was in some cases tough month. But I don't think I'm pretty sure all of us would have done it again, and we'd do it all over again for sure. But with that, we learned so much, just because we were pushed outside of our comfort zones. Definitely, I think all of us never really worked to a blank slate as much as we did with that showdown. Also, picking up some prompts that we never would have thought of doing. I don't think many people would come to you and say, "Hey, can you do a AAA beast versus an 8-bit hero?" I think you hear that and it's kind of like a clash between in your brain, and you're thinking, how do I do this? Especially with no visuals. And I think that was a really cool thing about this challenge, that we could push ourselves. We pushed our design skills, and I think and also to do that with like collaborating with each other. I think our collaboration was already really good beforehand. We communicate very well with each other. We're very chill. We're a very chill group. We don't pressure each other, and I think that's something very useful to remember. Is don't pressure people. It's because you get the best out of everyone if everyone's happy and obviously in a good mental state. So don't force anything onto anyone. But with the communication stuff like that, we were sending each other our Reaper projects and stuff. And as I said earlier, there was some problems with that. I know I had a problem where I think on the bagpipe I was doing I was messing around with the playwright in the project and sending over stems to everyone, and it was much longer than everyone else's project, and we were just all really, really confused on why that is. And everyone's not perfect. We all make mistakes and stuff like that. So it's just I think that as well, in that nice low pressure environment, was a lot of fun to work with. And yeah, I think our teamwork got better, and our way of concepting sounds, I think, really improved like incredibly over that month. So going forward, working in our commercial projects and stuff like that, I think that really benefited us.
Cool. So for the showdown, we had initially created a Discord server, basically just to like jot ideas down and yeah, just easily share, organize files, and also a nice place to like give feedback on and keep track of progress. But the server has grown a lot since then. So it started out as this kind of brainstorming area, but it's now morphed into this like massive knowledge base. So yeah, just to give you like an insight into like a few of the channels that we use the most. So the feedback channel, which is super useful, like anytime, you know, we're kind of working on anything, even like separately, and we want an extra pair of ears, we can chuck a clip in there, and you know, when anyone gets the chance, they give some great feedback on that. So it's nice having like a space that, you know, you can always drop some stuff into to get some extra ears. Also, we've got a channel for redesign ideas. So this is where we put in basically like any clips that we find that we think we kind of want to redesign later down the line. We can put them there so that when we come to like doing a challenge, we kind of have a bank of content that we can pick from. And then, yeah, plugins section. We basically just share links to like free plugins or like discounted or just recommended plugins that we use a lot and find super useful. Similar with the sound design channel. So we just kind of post links to like useful videos that we see, sometimes like general sound design tips, but also kind of how-to videos. So I think one of the ones recently is there was one in there about how to make like grenade sound effects and specific magic layers and things like that. And then we also have an Unreal channel. All of us are kind of working in Unreal at the moment, so we we post like useful info that we come across during work, or like I think there are a lot of like blueprint cheat sheets around, so we kind of post those in there. Any like specific audio solutions that we come up with, we chuck it all in there. Basically, then we can have like a place that we can refer back to find that knowledge if we need it in the future. And
as stated earlier, the game audio community is amazing. Like everyone shares everything, and it from video breakdowns of how they design sounds to sharing brand new scripts or new plugins or whatever else in between, and it's amazing. So it's always great to see that. But with us, we do like we do learning sessions, and we try to do them as frequent as we can. At one point, we were doing them fortnightly, but obviously with prior arrangements and all of us just being busy, sometimes that can be pushed to like each month or 2 months, 3 months. It really does depend. And there's no pressure on anyone to say we have to do it every 2 weeks, which is really beneficial to all of us, I think. But when we go into these learning sessions, we have specific topics we want to learn about, whether that is one of us knows a bit more than the others, we can go in and teach each other. We go and do sound design breakdowns with each other as well, because I'm sure most of the time we put something in feedback and one or two of us then replies and says, how the hell did you do that? We want to know. And then like, yeah, cool. Next Thursday, we'll pop into a call and we'll go over that. And also stuff like implementation walkthroughs. You know, I don't think all of us are great or amazing tech audio people, but we have a lot of different strengths in that field for sure. And I think we all show each other and teach each other on how to improve on that, because I'm not a programmer first, and I don't think either of you two are programmers first either. But it's also really good to help each other, because it's something that we're maybe not super comfortable with or super comfortable knowing. And then also other things is going over and teaching about like different scripts and plugins and stock plugins as well in Reaper. And I think that's really useful, because there's so many amazing scripts you can download, which are custom, which a lot of them are free, and there's some paid ones, of course, but there's so many amazing free scripts out there that you can utilize in your workflow for everyday use. And I think, well, that's a Sly will go into in a bit. But everything we do when we're in these sessions, we write notes down. I'm pretty sure we've all done something similar where we get really hyped from a talk, or get really hyped from someone showcasing a bit of their projects and stuff like that, and we then want to go off and do that. But because we are people, we need to have rest occasionally. We do need to like get away from our desks and stuff like that. So hopping into your DAW or engine the next day and you completely forget what you've done or what you wanted to do, it's quite common. So always make notes, whatever you're doing. So it's always really, really super handy to do that.
So here are a bunch of learning session examples that we've done. So we have quite a lot of them on Reaper because all three of us use Reaper as a DAW. So maybe this could also be like dependent on what your group could be. Like maybe you all use different DAWs or you'll use the same DAW. You could do like loads of deep dive sessions on that. Like we've had ones on like different Reaper scripts, things that are inside Reaper that we actually didn't know were there, which then immediately speeds up our workflows. We might be like, oh, we're working on this thing at the moment, or, this kind of skill. I wish we had like something that did this. And then someone would be like, actually, it already exists. And then we end up learning how to use those things. And that's immensely useful. Then we have like sessions on different plugins as well. Like we have a few sessions now on like RX noise reduction, because like we all record our own stuff, or we're working with source material that doesn't really suit our needs. Then we end up learning a lot about how RX works and different features inside of that. So that's immensely useful. Baseplant as well, because that's like a beast of a synth. So having like 3 people tackle it at the same time and share all their knowledge, that's like immensely useful and has been immensely useful. Melda's Morph plugin, like I mentioned before, I ended up using it for the first time recently, and then did like a deep dive into that as well. Sound Morph stuff, because we all love the Sound Morph stuff because it's really, really good. Kilohertz as well. We all use Kilohertz as well. So that's like really useful to have a deep dive into different plugins that you might not know had like a certain feature. Like I did a session entirely on how I use their tape stop plugin because it's one of my favorites. And yeah, it's just immensely useful to have loads of different learning sessions on plugins. Like you could record them later or make notes afterwards. So yeah, it's really, really good to go into plugins like that.
Yeah, cool. So some other examples of learning sessions that we've done. In my own time, I was working on playing around with the Unreal crop out demo project. So I was basically like redesigning some sounds that were in there, integrating wires in. And yeah, I'd added some like extra audio features that like weren't in the base project. So I like shared that in the Discord. And yeah, just Unreal in general and blueprints was just something that we all kind of wanted to learn even more about. So I did a screen share session, and yeah, just did a walk through the blueprints, kind of walk through like how they're all connected and how I set up the new audio features. And yeah, it was all stuff that like we could kind of implement in our day-to-day work that was super useful. So it came in handy a lot at that time. And then, yeah, we also had a really cool session where Felix hopped on a call to talk to us and talk us through the sound design in Wild Frost. So if you don't know, Wild Frost is it's like a roguelike deck building game. Really, really cute art style. And yeah, the sound design just like really enhances that. So yeah, Felix was able to give us a run through of some of his Reaper sessions, give us some like layer breakdowns of specific sounds that we really liked, insight into processing chains, and also like what source sounds we used to build up that palette. So yeah, just like the networking in general has been super useful to like be able to bring other people into these sessions to get like even more insight into how other sound designers do the work.
Right, how to do this yourself, because I think we can all wholeheartedly recommend that you make a group like this and do group learning and challenges and stuff, because it's been immensely useful for us. So I'd definitely recommend like a group of 3+ people. I think two, you can do this with two, but I think having that one extra perspective on everything is just immensely useful. And you need to like find a common goal. So this group can be applied to not just sound design. This can be composers, learning audio business stuff, specifically implementation. Like it can be whatever you need as long as you have a common goal and want to learn this stuff together. So yeah, you need to like narrow down what you want to learn and ways of like maintaining the skills that you already have, because it's really, really good to learn new skills. It's also really good to maintain the ones you've got, and also find new perspectives on the ones you've got as well, because if we all design something, it's going to turn out different, and then you end up filling in lots of gaps. So useful. And then just like different ways of learning new skills. So yeah, the different approaches that you can take to different things can immediately speed up how quickly you learn. And yeah, just applying that to plugins and challenges, learning sessions, whatever, it's just so good. Make sure that you have like set meeting times for consistency, whether this is like a sound design challenge deadline or just like a learning session one, or maybe you just want to keep like meeting up every like 2 weeks to discuss something. And like Luke mentioned earlier, this can be immensely fluid, because say you're struggling with something at that specific moment and you have a learning session coming up, then you can make sure that the learning session that comes up is a deep dive into what you need to know. And then you get 2 other people's perspectives on it. That's like super useful. And you can, you know, ask questions in real time and you can all learn together live. Like that is great. And then with all of that kind of knowledge, then it's just great to then make sure you have all that knowledge written down, because you could leave a call and then be like, oh, wait, I forgot that one detail. Then you have to go back and ask questions. That can be quite time consuming. So make sure that like during the sessions, or if there's anything that you've learned at all, because I know we've done this with like Unreal stuff where we share tips in real time, it's just make sure that you have somewhere where you're putting all of this knowledge. For us, it started out on Discord with all of our different Discord chats, and we still use those as well. And then we also have a Confluence page as well, where we do like deep dives into certain stuff, where we add a lot of documentation. So that's really, really good. And also just make sure to support each other, because like this kind of career path can be quite tough. So just make sure that you have each other's backs, be there, be supportive, know how to give feedback, know how to understand that everyone learns things differently or has different takes on stuff. So like be able to like work together really, really well and support each other. It's totally worth it. Just do it. Be a decent person.
Yeah, cool. So here are some really good resources. If you're kind of stuck for some learning session ideas, you want some inspiration. The top 3, there are some really great topics on there. Game Audio Learning has the learning roadmap, and it covers like an immense amount of stuff. So you can always just have a scroll and kind of pick a topic to learn more about. Also, the link at the bottom there, Ben Gallagher did an article talking about mastermind groups. So just if you wanted to get more info, have more of a read, then that's a super good interview to do. And then yeah, so as we said, we set up an audio outsourcing company called Noodle Noise, and basically like the foundation that we were able to create over the last 4 years, like from all the things that we've mentioned today, the sound challenges, the showdown, and the learning sessions. It just showcased how well we work together on projects, basically. And I think like the good communication that we've built from all those things, the work ethic and the workflow, has been really, really valuable to bring to the table when we're collaborating with dev teams. So I think like being able to bring all of our 3 skill sets together and just like what we've learned over the years, it has like turned into a successful freelance career. And I think we just want to convey that, you know, the industry's in a rough state right now, but we want to showcase that like this work that you do to improve your skills, it does pay off in the long run. But also that just having that support system throughout that, the people around you it can get you a long way. And I think it's a great like motivator to keep going even amongst all the chaos. So yeah, I think just like network to make friends and not to get jobs. I think like all the things that we've learned together can like just be a really good showcase for that, and to show that in the long run it really pays off, and having that support system is really, really valuable.
So lastly, we do want to say thank you so much for attending this talk. You can follow our Noodle Noise accounts on Twitter or Instagram. We have a email and also a website as well. So we do hope this talk was useful for everyone. It's been a lot of fun to make this, and this week has been amazing as well. So we're going to say thank you to Greg and Lewis as well, and everyone else behind AirWiggles who's been sorting out AirCon. I know it must be tough, so thank you to everyone involved.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And I mean, if you're kind of see a few people in the chat like saying about like joining the group, I think talk to people in the chat and maybe like form your own little group, because like it really does pay off. And I mean, our brains have grown very much larger since starting all this like group learning. So yeah, chat to people in chat if you see anyone, and just set up a little group, set up a call, and do some little challenges.
And also, like, you know, go to like there's in London tomorrow. There's the AirWiggles event, so you might see a whole bunch of people. You get to meet a whole bunch of people you just click really well with, because majority of game devs are amazing. So you can go in and have a chat with people, start chatting, meeting up with them in person or online and doing stuff together. And I think that's the thing is, you know, you make so many incredible connections, and yeah, there's a lot of really cool people in this industry. So keep doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
So should we got some questions? I think we have.
Ooh, let's have a look. Okay, cool. So how much time... Oh, I'm getting the internet connection is unstable thing again. Sorry, I had to switch to my hotspot halfway through because my Wi-Fi died. So, so yeah, the first question is, how much time per day or per week do you on average spend per smallish creation? And how long does it take to do the social media thing posted for the challenges? I'm trying to think. Like, I personally try not to spend a crazy amount of time on the redesigns themselves. Like, usually we pick quite short ones, just so we can do those really quick fire sessions. I usually spend like a couple of hours if we're doing like a kind of week deadline, like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, but I think because we've done so many, it's like the time needed for that has kind of gone down throughout the years.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd probably spend a bit longer at the start, but yeah, for now I'd say like 2-ish hours.
I think that's an important takeaway for especially if you're starting out doing these as a group as well, is just be very aware of how you're feeling during them, because I know it can sometimes be tempting to just like, you know, go all out on a sound, but you need to be aware of your energy levels and how much you can commit, because you're going to burn yourself out if you just overcommit. So yeah, just try and find a reasonable amount of time, and maybe something like make sure you can have like a timer on or something when you start out, so you don't end up going too overboard with it. And just try and set yourself a small amount of time, and then over time you'll get more familiar with like your own personal clock, how your body works and how you feel, and you'll be more aware of like your sweet spot as I think it develops.
It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint at the end of the day. And I think I can get more done over like 15 to 30 minute intervals over a week than I can saying sometimes doing it 8 hours on a Sunday. Because for me, a Sunday is my break. You know, I think we should all be taking breaks and stuff like that, and also not working too much sometimes as well. Because like, you know, we work 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So doing like another few hours every night, or doing it a Saturday as well, you know, you got to take your time, because you're going to burn yourself out really, really quickly otherwise. But yeah, I think do as much as you can in little bursts, because I think sometimes you can listen to the same things over and over again and you get accustomed to it, and sometimes that's just a sign you need a break. You need to give your ears a rest. So you know, take breaks, come back, try something else. Don't listen to the thing you did before. Sometimes and you can come back to it the next day, and you'll have a completely different perspective on it as well. So, yeah, I think
for sure. I think like we said, we set those deadlines, but also there have been multiple challenges that we say, oh, we're gonna do this by next Friday, and like the week starts and it's chaos at work, or like something's come up and it's like we do not have time to do this.
Yeah.
And like, but because we're all friends and it's chill and we always like kind of share the knowledge, it's fine, you know. There's no like pressure there. It's just a nice environment to do that stuff in.
Yeah, and like going on that as well, I'm pretty sure sometimes we've done it where someone has done the thing, like done the sound for that Friday, and then the other two haven't, because, you know, life is busy. You know, we do have full work days. We do have lives outside of work as well, and outside of Audio. So we come back to it and see the message of like, oh, I've done this. How's yours coming along? And then it's usually just all caps screaming of just going, oh crap, I haven't done this. Then it's like, no, it's fine. We can do that. We can do it for next week or the week after or the week after that. I think one thing is, you know, be accountable of each other, but don't pressure each other to do something, because once you start making it a chore, I think you then take for a few steps. You take so many steps further back then. And you're not going to improve. You're just going to push yourself back a lot more then. So, yeah, don't pressure each other, but just do as much as you can as well in some cases.
Yeah, for sure. So the next question, was there a point where you considered using those DAWs geared towards remote collaboration? It seemed like a brilliant idea a few years ago, but the uptake just hasn't happened. Why do you think that is? To be fair, I don't think we've ever spoken about it. I think, especially for the Showdown, I think where we had that good communication base and we were able to make the concept and a block out right at the start, I don't think it was ever really needed to have a kind of like remote collaboration DAW like session, because we were constantly kind of sharing audio files.
And working on different assets too, so it wouldn't have made as much sense during the Showdown to do it, I don't think, just because of that main reason. And then also with this like working different times as well, because, you know, like we mentioned before, with our different availability, that wouldn't have really worked depending on, you know, when we're going to chime in and do these things. But I think it might be something fun that we could do as a group learning session, to be honest, boot up this.
That's true.
See how it goes.
Thanks for the idea.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the list.
Yep.
Cool. So last question, how do you deal with creative disagreements or letting go of your idea in favor of another one if you're not convinced? I feel like for us it's quite easy in a way, because it's like, I think we all know that like we respect the work that we've all done, but like sometimes if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, and it's very like open communication. And, you know, if I were to make a sound that didn't really work, Luke and Kai could come to me and say, hey, listen, like I think this needs to be changed here. And I think it's just all about creating that environment where like you feel comfortable to bring up concerns. Yeah, it's
definitely like a safe space is something that's really important for these group learning things, because this group is not to further one person's ability to do sound, it's to further everyone's equally. We want to work together here, and it's just really important that I think the people you have, if you're going to go away and do this kind of group, is to have people on the same level of maturity. And you guess you can figure that out over time, and you can figure out if things work, and if they don't, that's fine. You don't have to commit to it, but like making sure that you're having people who actually want to focus on the main things, which is improving their sound design skills and having fun, and are dedicated to it. That's the main takeaway. It's not to further one person. It's not for ego. It's for fun. And I think another thing as well, when it comes to, I guess, disagreements, is I think it's really important, I guess, for people who might go away and make their own groups, is to understand how every individual can take feedback and like how you deliver it is immensely important. Everyone receives feedback in a different way. And you need to make sure that you tailor that to different people, because you could come across as harsh, where one person might like straight to the point, other people might not. And just being able to understand people on a human level in a way of delivering feedback is immensely important. And at the end of the day, also, you might deliver this feedback and it might be you that's wrong. Maybe it does really, really work. And then you throw it in during like a challenge or something, and you're like, oh, right, I was wrong. So, don't then just stick to your guns, like hear people out, listen, communicate. It's immensely important.
Yeah, definitely leave your ego at the door. I think that's the main thing, because at the end of the day, like for the three of us, we're all really close friends and stuff like that. And like, for sure, sometimes we might have something that we disagree on, but it is definitely the thing of how we discuss that. And we could start shouting at each other, but then that's not going to be productive in any way whatsoever. And I could just see, like, we've done stuff where one of us is doing something and it's just not quite working. And sometimes we can go in and, like, I've done it before with, like, jumping to a call with, say, like Becky when they're doing something, and they're like, I don't know how to do this thing, or it's just not sounding right. And then I can just throw an idea out there. They're saying, hey, why don't you just maybe bring this lower in the mix? It's just something, sometimes it's so simple, but Becky doesn't turn around and go, no, you're wrong. Why would I do that? It's, we sit there and go, any like feedback or advice is useful. And until you try it, you don't know. And I think that's the main thing, is you just got to try things, and also just, the main thing, be respectful of each other. We're all humans. We want to be treated respectfully. So if you treat someone somewhat badly, you're going to be treated like that back as well. So we are all really like there for each other. And that's the main thing, is regardless of how little or how much we need that. So it's really thankful to have like these two in my corner. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I think like when you make a group like this, like you're all, like we said, like you're in it for the same goal. So like if someone brings up feedback or like any comments, like it's not, it shouldn't be in a negative or judgmental way. But also, like, if you feel that, bring it up, like raise it. It's the communication, and I think that's what we've kind of built over the years. So, and I think it's just a good base to have, because then when you go outside the group and like work on projects with like other teams, that kind of mindset carries over and it's just very valuable. Just reading through the chat.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been really nice to do this talk. I think it's nice, like, to just, I think in some cases we were a bit stressed about this, but it's really nice as well just to kind of take a step back and just go, okay, cool, this is useful for people. And it's also a nice reminder for ourselves that, like, this does work. We've all been there, we've all started somewhere. So just be there for each other and bring each other up. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, I think we've answered all the questions.
Yeah.
So if anyone thinks of any questions, feel free to like reach out to us. Or I think there's like the Hangouts space as well. You can ask in there and we'll have a peek. But yeah, thank you so much for coming.